guys, welcome to episode 72 of the RoundTable. I'm Jenny Walker, the social media ministry leader here at Life Church. And this is our lead pastor, Mike Hill.
Or just Mike.
She didn't laugh.
I didn't laugh, and I said the correct thing, and he still has to say, just Mike.
Yeah,
And
don't you think it's weird like that? I think it's weird when people call me pastor.
I didn't say pastor,
I
did
know
I?
you didn't.
Wait, did I?
You called me the lead
I did say lead
pastor.
pastor,
Mike, yeah.
right.
Yeah, because I'm really good with just Mike.
I will never call you Pastor Mike. So just know that. Never will I ever.
Yes.
No. And our special guest, Keely Oswald, who is now our youth leader for the Life students, the high school.
Yeah.
The high school. Well,
Super
Jenny,
exciting.
you got to address, so if you're listening, we got to address like the why you're made up like this.
Oh, we have
Like
to?
yes.
I just don't walk around like this like normal?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
because I think it's cool anyway.
Yeah.
I think you should talk about what you're doing and why you're, I don't want to say you're dressed up because you always look nice.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
He
like
says
you're
I look like crap all
special.
the time.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said I look like crap all the time.
No.
I know that's not what you
No,
meant.
but again, this is a little more than normal.
Right.
The
Yeah.
hat, the whole, like,
yeah.
the
So,
whole makeup.
I know. Did you read my shirt though?
No, I
It
can't, 'cause
says,
your parents in the way.
hold on, I forgot what it says.
Normalize being
Normalize
sober.
being sober.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tonight I am the keynote speaker for Place of Grace.
Yay.
So there will be a couple of, I think, people that are still in the program, and then me, so the graduate. I graduated in 2020, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And a lot's happened since then. And a lot's been keeping me from today.
Yeah.
And I
let's
know.
go back to, remember when we talked about like write down answered prayers?
Yeah.
So if you remember 2 years ago when we started the podcast, Jenny said right from the beginning, one of the reasons that I want to do this is because someday I want to speak
Yeah.
to people that will give me the ability to take my story and transform the lives of people. So God answers prayers.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely.
but let's be also, because I think this is the other point, is you've shared throughout this whole journey, though, of how Satan has tried to make it so you couldn't.
Right.
Right, to take your voice,
Yeah.
in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
Today's a huge celebration of,
Yeah.
again, victory, right? And I think
Yeah.
people need to see that because it wasn't an easy transition. As soon as you said it, the attacks came and the attacks are still coming, but you're celebrating a victory because you are doing it.
Right.
And, he cannot keep your voice.
Right.
Yeah,
Temptations only last for so long.
Yeah. So
But
good for you.
yeah,
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
awesome.
amazing that like when you do step out, I don't know, in faith, like you feel like you heard from God, then it just really makes him mad, Satan mad. And that's what I noticed like this week when I had a problem and I responded in a way that I thought I needed to because of I felt like God was speaking to me to tell it. And then immediately, okay, not immediately, but like
Feels like it.
quick was the worst week that I've had in a long time.
Right. And I think that's why, when we were trying to debate what series to do next, like what is it that's going to happen, I said, as soon as we saw Baptism Sunday, I said, it's a for sure we're doing spiritual warfare.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I said, I don't know that people completely get the whole like
No.
what's going on. And not only did they not get it, I don't know that they know how to fight it. Right. And I think that the big piece is one is an awareness.
Right.
Like this is what really happens and this is what's really going on. But then also what's in your tool bag, right? To be able to battle against it. And so I'm really excited. I mean, we finish up the Church Defined this week and then we start the next week after that, we're going to be starting the spiritual warfare. And I think for all of us, it's a good thing to remember because, one, when we're aware of it, it also makes us aware of the authority we've been given over it, right? So there's that balance, in between. So
Right. Like if this would have happened to me a couple years ago, I would have known that it was spiritual warfare, but I wouldn't have been so confident that I was going to get through it because I knew what was going on wasn't going to last. Like it sucked, but I had thoughts that I shouldn't have had, but I still knew it was going to be okay. And I think people, especially the ones that got baptized, need to know because in the beginning of my walk with God, when that would happen, I would easily cave back to the old life, not realizing what it is.
Right. Yeah, because Satan, again, being that he is a liar, the first thing that he tries to do is condemn you again and make you feel like you're unworthy and make you feel like a loser and then just push you down, you know, instead of being an overcomer and the understanding that's what he's given us is that we've all agreed that we all fall short and we're all going to make mistakes and, you know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Well, anyway, I wanted to make sure people knew they could be praying for you. And I think it's just cool that you fought through. You know, it's so proud of you. You've had a incredible journey and you have an incredible story. And again, I tell people all the time, I talk about you all the time.
You too.
I really do. I really do. I'm
thank
like,
you.
No, I'm really serious. I mean, you want to look at somebody that has been on the journey and fought the fight.
Yeah.
Right. To navigate not only like personal, like working through personal issues, but really finding who you truly are that drugs and other people covered up for so long. Yeah. You've allowed God, you've done some of the hard work. Yeah. Right. That it takes to be able to get there. And so every day that I see you and the work that you do here and every day that I see you as a part of, you know, what's going on, I'm just like in awe of what God has done in your life. Yeah. And I'm so proud of you. And,
thank you. It is true though.
Yeah.
And it's just
exciting.
Is amazing that like you are never completely going to be good. Like I find new things about myself, about just my walk with God every day, like things being unrevealed or revealed, but I don't know.
But that's the process, right? Like part of the process of being open to what I call out working your salvation in fear and trembling is you got to be open to be broken.
Right. And that's everyone. Everyone has those problems.
Right. And you got to just recognize because pride becomes before the fall. Right. And so when you have pride in your life, you're like, nothing's ever wrong and nothing's ever a problem. And I got you know.
Yes.
Like, I think the thing that we miss is I don't think that God is mad when we say, man, I'm struggling. No. I'm having bad days or these thoughts that are going through my mind or I made a mistake. Like I don't ever believe that when I make a mistake, God's up there wanting to smack the crap out of me.
He already knew it was going to happen. Yeah. That's what I would think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's as fathers and mothers, we have an expectation our kids are going to fail. Yeah. Right. I mean, and so we got to make a decision. Are we going to welcome them back in? Are we going to hug them? We're going to hold them. We're going to walk with them. Or are we going to disown them?
Exactly.
You know, and so obviously a perfect father isn't going to disown us, you know, in the midst of our mistakes. And so, you know, when people point out our failures, that's what I always tell them, like, thanks, I already know. You don't have to tell me. You know, I mean, I don't know if you're doing that to try to make me better, but don't worry, I've already know.
I'm fully aware of
fully aware of who I'm not. But thanks for reminding me in the midst of that. So Keely, huge story, right, for you. Like what's cool is we've had Troy on here. Right? So we've seen the one side of
the Dominator. What's a Dominator?
Was that his name?
I don't know, but I always wanted to be Destroyer because Troy is in the middle of Destroyer, but he didn't like that, so.
It's Destroyer Dominator. I don't know, but I really like saying it.
Punisher.
The Punisher. That's what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. But
that was great.
Either way, we've seen the other side of it. And we've had Troy on here, but I think it's cool to, you know, talk about your story and what's going on. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about you, your life, your loves, your likes, things you're doing, and then we'll kind of go back and look at your...
Okay. I love everything.
That's how I am. Wait, everything. Are you an Enneagram 7?
I don't know.
I think you are. I
don't know anything about him, but people always say, like, what are you? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I love everything. Anything outdoors, like hiking and we have to hike. Rayanne is ready. We have to hike. Just being with my people. Like that is what fills my cup. And so that is... that's what we try to do. However, our life is just busy because we're, you know, moms and dads and all the things. So.
And you have 2 jobs.
Yep.
I've always had 2. 4 jobs.
4. Oh, the mom.
A wife, a mom, a physical therapist. And the youth leader at Life Church for the senior high.
Yep.
Yeah. Lots of stuff to juggle. Yeah.
That's how he made me. That's how God made me. Like, I can't do one thing all the time. I get bored real easy. So.
Yeah, so one of the things we love to do is always go back a little bit and learn a little bit about your, I say upbringing. That's probably not the right word. Kind of like your journey through life to kind of get a perspective of faith, where did it come from, where you're at today, what has kind of shaped you so that other people that are listening get this perspective of where you're at today, what's kind of made you into the woman of God that you are today. So growing up, you're from Huntington.
We are.
Yeah, I grew up around here. So tell us about your journey through your faith journey, how were things with your parents, how did that all go? Do you have siblings?
I have a brother.
Okay.
Oh, you do?
Yep, I have an older brother. He's awesome. We weren't friends growing up. We were, but we were brothers and sisters growing up, but he's my best friend.
Right.
So we grew up in maybe unique because like we had one mom and one dad. Like that's how we grew up.
Right.
And they were like the Brady Bunch. They loved each. Did they have other kids? I don't
Brady
know.
Bunch?
They were good.
Yeah.
They were
Yes,
like,
they had
It's
a
like
ton
the
of
Brady Bunch.
kids.
They were divorced and remarried, but that's okay.
That's what I was afraid of. No, they were always
Either way,
together.
the all-American family.
Yeah, we did. We
Leave it
just
to
had
Beaver.
a boy.
Leave it to
There
Beaver.
we go. Okay.
That's what it meant.
So we did, a mom and dad, and that was our same people the whole time. There was a lot of, early in my life, a lot of abuse that happened at the hand of family. And so my dad became like the buck stops here guy and broke that cycle for our family. And
Wait,
so
I'm confused. So abuse like outside of your family?
it was
like,
within family, from family members.
Oh, okay.
So we stopped that
other-
relationship.
Yeah, so
Yep.
other people.
Extended family.
Okay.
So like he broke that cycle for our family, and that
Wow.
talking to him, like he's gone now, but talking to him, he knew he wasn't super strong in his faith as far as like, we're going to church, we're doing all these things, but he got it. Like he had wisdom that had to only be from God. Like he knew like my job here was to protect my family and fix things. And then when that's good, I can go home. And so that's literally how he lived his life into his death. So
So
broke that
growing
cycle.
up, was faith an important part of you guys' life?
We were bus kids. Like my
You
brother
were
and I,
what?
bus kids. I don't know what you really call it,
What's
but
a
like
bus
I don't
kid?
know.
a guy would drive around and pick you up from your house in a bus. And my parents were never like, you can't do church, but they're like, we're just not going to be a part of it because
Oh, you would go to church that way?
yeah, the people would come and pick you up on a bus and you'd go to church. And
Is there still a bus that picks kids up?
I
Some
hope
places.
so. Yeah, I hope so, because without it, we would not have the foundation that we do. We would have a lot of knowledge, just not knowing that it's godly wisdom. And so, my dad would just say that the people who caused abuse in our family were pillars in their church. And so because of that, church to him was just
Wow.
anybody can do one thing and,
What?
live
That's
one life.
Sad.
Wait a second.
What?
So I got like two big questions,
Okay.
right? So you're saying people who were abusive,
Mm-hmm.
right, were pillars in their church.
Deacon in their church.
How does that happen?
Wow.
Yeah, how does that happen?
No, I'm serious. So how does it happen that people are raised up inside of a church? Do like the church not know these people? Does it like
I would hope that, I mean, they're your like leaders in your church, but I don't know.
Okay.
I was a kid, so I guess I don't know, and I shouldn't speak of it. I just think that people can live two lives. And I think
No,
that
and
they
the only
can-
reason I brought it up is I honestly think it's not. I mean, I think it's interesting how many people inside of leadership where, we had a story of a guy that he was going to a church, had an incident with the youth kid. The board got together. This guy was a well-known, person and personality in the community, so they kind of swept it under the rug.
Yes.
10 years later, he's on the news, for the same things.
Yeah.
And why would a church cover it up? I guess that's the point
Yeah.
I've always, that
Maybe
could be
they don't know.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother subject.
Yeah, I'm old, so that was a long time ago. So I maybe just forgot some of the details, but I think people can't live too. Like I think you let people know what you let people know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So here's my other question. Cause I always land on the side of like, what should the church do? What should the church not do?
Yeah.
So were you in relationship with anybody outside of your family that went to church?
We rode the bus for a long time. And
Yeah,
when we
without
got
the
there,
without the bus. Like forget the bus. Like anybody that
inside.
here's the thing I'm getting to. Like I've always wondered, like, why do they need a bus? Where's everybody else? Why didn't somebody pick you up to go to church?
So growing up, I had my dad's mom was alive, but his dad wasn't when we were born.
Right.
So but my grandma was just like a little kind of a hermit.
Yeah.
We'd watch the Bulls. She would make me fudge. But but she passed when I was about 14 years old. So that's when you kind of realize a grandma was not just there to take care of you and love you, or
Right.
spoil
Yeah.
you, like that they have their own story. So there was no faith journey in that life that I would have experienced.
But none of your friends at the
I
time?
mean, I'm saying like we were there, like when we were probably heading that way when we were 8, 9
Okay.
years old. I mean, like that is how that is the foundation of like my faith walk. And so, but getting to that place, the people in that church, tons of examples there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of them just loved you well. Like you saw Jesus in those people. And so I don't think at 8 and 9, I understood that, but that's definitely was the start and foundation. And my parents weren't like, we don't believe in God, or it wasn't any of that. It was just that you can have all of that without having to be in a church body or without having to be in a church. So
you guys went to church, your parents didn't go to church. So did that go on forever?
for a long time.
Okay.
Wow.
Kind of forever. Like, in 2015, I was the children's director at another church, and we were having a Christmas program or whatever, and my boys were in it, and Eli was a newsboy, and he was so cute. I'm like, you need to come see. And that is what God used to bring them back to church.
Wow.
My mom's video will like pan the stage for the decor, then over to my dad, and then up at the ceiling, and then back, and I'm like, what's going on? She said, I just wanted to prove the ceiling wouldn't fall in. So when you said that this weekend, I was like, oh, that's my family.
That's so funny.
They did that. And then our
Wow, that's a
pastor,
long time
Yeah.
to...
it's been a prayer our whole life that they would be in church and that would be part of their life. But also like you can only do what you're supposed to do. You know, like, so if we're planting the seeds and living by example, that's what I'm called to do. So if that will eventually produce fruit in somebody, and that's the prayer, that's what it is, but it's not.
Yeah. So let's go back, because I think this is like for a lot of people. I don't think that like your example would be an example a lot of kids are going through today, right? So friends are experiencing faith, or friends are going to church, parents aren't going to church.
Yeah.
So when you went through middle school, you're still in the bus ministry, you're going to this church kind of took you in. So faith was really important to you, right? So talk about how your faith was lived out. Was it hard when you couldn't go home and anybody help you? Like, how was that faith journey walking without having any support? Not to say any.
Yeah. No, there's tons of support at home. It just doesn't look like what you expect a family to go on Sunday morning, you know? So, but it's what we knew. That's all we ever knew. So I just think like within that, I don't know how those people just loved us so well, but I mean, like they just took you under their wing. They would let us teach they let me teach Sunday school when I was probably 13 years old. I mean, it was just like they wanted to nurture your gifts and started a children's choir. I mean, whatever you felt God leading you to do, they were like, yeah, we got you. And we're going to try. So, but it wasn't, I don't think I have ever been one to like wrestle with God or wrestle with my faith until later. I'm like a child as far as my faith goes. It's like, you tell me this is what the Bible tells me. That's what I believe. I'm not a questioner like a lot of people. I don't have blind faith, but it's evident in my life often about, you know, maybe this is something you were wrestling with on your own, and like, here's my proof. So, and I have childlike faith. I hope I always do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then as you went through high school, did you meet Troy in high school?
Nope. He did his he mostly went to high school, and I
He mostly went
I remember this part of the story.
I don't remember this part of the story.
I do.
He mostly went to high school?
Yeah, he showed up most days, and then they passed him on he ended up going to the service. So, so they passed him on. But yeah, for me, it was just, high school was easy. I don't know. High school was easy for me, and I know that's not good to say because it wasn't for a lot of people, but it was
easy in
for
what
me.
way? Like you didn't face many challenges?
Easy, just like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go after it. And
So like no temptations, or like you didn't get like into anything negative?
I mean, not to the point where I'm like, oh, it stopped my life, or it derailed the train, or no. We worked a job, you went to school, you did. I'm a boring kid. I'm a boring adult. Like I do.
It sounds really nice to be boring.
No, but you're saying like, again, through that, you were a believer.
Right.
You're essentially living out your faith.
Trying my best.
Yeah, to the best of your ability, living out your faith, and didn't really run into lots of challenges in high school of living out your faith.
I would think the only challenge would be probably dealing, like my dad had, this is the rules and it's black and white. There's no gray area. This is the expectation. You either live up to it or you're in trouble. Like that's how we grew up. That's what we knew. And so in that, it was very restrictive in what you would want to do, like go out with your friends or do whatever. So there was times you'd have to figure out, how do I lie to dad to be able to do that? But other than that, like mom would say it's fine. Dad would be like, no. So you just figured your way around it. And like, there was a lot of growth in that regard. Like just line to get what you want. But still, it was just kind of like, I've always just been like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go after it. And obviously, that doesn't always work.
Yeah, so what was it that you wanted to do? Like, what drove you in high school? What did you want to do? What was the motivating factor for you in life?
I am pretty sure at 14, I knew I wanted to go to Taylor University and study psychology. And so all of my work went towards that. Yeah. You have to decide your life at 14. In 8th grade, they're like set the trajectory of your high school career.
They do make it seem like that. They do.
And I was pretty certain that is where I wanted to go. I don't know why. I don't remember why. But
and you went to Taylor?
I did. My first year, I went to Taylor.
Wow.
And we were there's like a no dance policy at Taylor at the time. It was in Fort Wayne.
Like
you can't
still?
dance. I don't know. I'm old. So this is a little bit ago. But at the time, you couldn't dance on their campus. And it was in Fort Wayne. So we're in the gospel choir.
I forgot that Taylor Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh. It was in Fort Wayne. So we're in the gospel choir and we're leading worship like as part of our class. And you can't stand still. I can't stand still when I sing. So
you can't
we're all
sway
like,
or anything.
they stopped service, pulled us off the stage. I'm like, I'm paying a lot of money for this hip hop.
Wait, so you're just standing there, just like you can't even.
No, they
do
stopped
that.
service and they pulled the choir off the stage. And so I'm like, so that was the first indicator.
Good job, Taylor
No
University.
kidding. That's why this one Fort Wayne shut down.
And then at my very first class, there was a professor sitting on a stool and he looked like kind of death. Like he looked like he was just 100 years old. And he said, I won't say his name. My name is Professor whatever. And I fail 68% of my students. Like it was like prideful and it was Old Testament. I'm like, I'm going to be one of those 68.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, I'm not cut out for this. So I didn't know. And so then from there I went to, IB Tech for massage therapy, and I thought you have to kind of chase your money.
We have a masseuse on our staff?
Don't do it.
What?
It's
Yes.
too much work. Like you had to chase your money. And so I always tell my patients that ask, like, how did I end up in therapy? I'm like, God just had to sit me there because I couldn't get it together. So I was just like, geez, go this direction. So I don't remember making the decision to go for therapy. I don't remember any of that. that is how.
But you can still massage?
Yeah, I suppose if I had to.
Yay!
No, I'm saying so you went from being a massage therapist to a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm. I did about maybe a year of that, and so some of those classes would transfer in for therapy. But
Okay.
Yeah.
So then at what point does Troy get into the picture? Like maybe I missed this whole point when Troy talked.
No, that's the best part. No, so I was going to school for therapy at that point and working at Scott's at Coventry, and I couldn't get my hours in there because you don't have school and all the other stuff, and they weren't open very late. So then I started at Tumbleweed and just did both jobs and went to school. And he started at Tumbleweed. Did he tell his story?
Troy was at Tumbleweed? No, he didn't
Yes, he
say
did.
this.
Yes, he did because it was the sushi place that is there now.
Yeah.
Naked Chopsticks.
Right, Naked Chopsticks.
It used to be Tumbleweed.
Yeah.
And so he worked there because he needed a job. So that's where I met him.
Because again, help me understand, he was in the military?
No, they broke his leg and knee or something. And so they sent him home.
Okay. Yeah, so he's out of the military at this point. Okay.
And he had found some trouble at that point.
Yeah, right, because he was on probation or house arrest or something.
He had some fees that he had to pay off, so he needed a job, and so he was there, and he's the cutest boy washing dishes.
Aww.
And the first time I met him, I said, "Hi, I'm Keely," because that's how my world is. He said, "Like it was." Like, oh dang, okay.
I can totally see that.
Keely. It was not even a Keely. It was like,
oh my gosh. Wow. So from that moment, did you know?
Right?
So he had the whole caveman thing clear back then. Keely.
So I think I was just too much brightness in his world right then. And but over time, then we just started dating and we worked there for a little while, and then he left there to go roofing for Sheriff Goslin. So
let's talk, because I don't know, maybe we talked about it on his podcast, but I think it'd be good to hear from your perspective.
Yeah.
So here you are, strong faith, bubbly, loving the Lord, and then you meet Troy, who I don't think that he said that he was like following Jesus at the time, right?
No, he didn't.
Like,
he didn't.
That wasn't a part of his
he never
journey,
said that.
No.
Right? So again, back to you're picking a man who's not a believer, right? So talk through that journey.
Okay.
Give all of these women out there that are in that same spot as you were. What's the advice?
He was cute, so you're gonna fight for him, right? Like that's the
that
bottom
was,
line.
I'm not saying that was. So how did you fight for him?
Yeah.
Like, what did that look like? Because that couldn't have been obviously you guys thought differently
Right.
about things. So how did you work through that? Because again, I think for a lot of young ladies today, they find themselves in the situation, he's a great guy, he's just missing this piece of it. And so a lot of people's advice would be dump him. He's not a Christian, right? Why would you ever date? Why would you ever be unevenly yoked? But so here's a situation. So people are sitting there and like, but I love him. What am I supposed to do? So what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, I don't know what they should do. Here's what we did.
Did you have hesitations though? Like in the beginning, never?
I don't remember. There was an instance that he lied to me. And at that point I thought we were done because that's it. Like that's the foundation. And if we don't have that, it's not worth it to me. But, it came around and I said so we just said like, this is my expectation. Like I'm going to church and I want you to go with me. It wasn't a force, like you gotta know. I don't know. It wasn't hard nosed like that. Cause that's not how Jesus is. He didn't. So I don't want to be like that. And so I just said, these are my expectations. Like these are the goals in life that I'm working towards. And if you want to come alongside, I hope you do, then let's go. It wasn't, I don't think I was a jerk about it. I think it was just
the boundaries. I think that's really awesome.
We grew up knowing that like girls are prizes. Like you're a daughter of a king. Don't just settle. Like, and we grew up with convictions and it was something that was talked about in our family. So even from my dad to me, it was always talked about. And so that wasn't foreign to me. It was foreign if somebody didn't honor that. And so if you couldn't honor that, you're not my person. And that's okay with me. Like whatever. Right. We'll find another route. It doesn't matter.
So Troy, like he works through the analogy we worked out earlier, right? So he was a boy that decided to be a man because he honored your boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he probably always liked it, but he did.
But I think that's the difference. That's what we were saying earlier, right? Yeah. Like boys, won't honor the boundaries. Right. Men, obviously don't like it. I mean, they're driven, by their hormones. So obviously that's not going to be what they want. Right. But a man will honor it. Yeah. A man will respect his wife because she is a prize, because she is a queen, because she is, all of those things. Yeah. So again, as you go through this journey, what won him over? I mean, I know the Lord. Yeah,
that is all it could have been.
I mean, I get that, but what was that transitional point? Like,
I think for him, it was just that, like, he was just loved for him. Like, you don't have to. I don't know. I think that we always talk about how I think everybody just goes through their life trying to do their best, right? And like that's the lens that I see people through, and so a lot of times we're just trying to do the best to fix something that we thought was broken before us, or to fix something that we feel is a hole in us or around us. And so because of that, maybe the things that I was trying to do or fix or whatever fit the holes that he had. I don't know. But I just think I think every generation and every person tries to do better than what they knew or whatnot. And so God just aligned everything to work. So
once you guys, again, Troy gives his life to Christ, you guys are now a team. So let's talk about this journey, because I think you've had an interesting journey of, like, you became a team, you went to a church, you guys were doing ministry together. Like, talk a little bit about, like, following your passions. Where was he? Where were you? Yeah. And so for you personally, how did that work? Because that's what I would hear, right? That you guys kind of went at ministry as a team.
Yeah, we still
so
will.
Cool.
We still do.
Yeah.
So he was serving as the worship leader at a church, and I was the children's ministry leader.
So were you attending this church for a long time, and then just like, you guys are awesome, we want you to do?
Since Cameron was, our oldest is 16 now. He was like 6 months at the time, probably, maybe a little younger than when we started. And I was like, we have to just find a home church, because we had just kind of gone around to different churches. And so we find a home church, and I don't think you can attend a church and just sit there on a Sunday and that's it. I don't think that's right. So I started serving right away wherever our kids lined up. So if they were in the nursery, we were in the nursery. If they were in first grade, we were helping in first grade, whatever that looked like. And Troy was going through mixed martial arts at that time. And so he had he had a lot of fights that he won, which was amazing, but it tore his body up a lot. And so when he realized, like, we got to hang the hat up for that, like, it was a huge passion in his life that he was ridiculously good at. And so I knew it was going to leave a big hole. Right. And he had mentioned a long time ago he wanted to learn the guitar. So I thought, I'll buy him a guitar and he can figure that world out. And so as that was happening, he was learning guitar through YouTube or wherever he was at. And they needed somebody to play guitar haphazardly, right? And so I continue, and they take me on to start a midweek program for kids, like whatever, nursery through 6th grade or 5th grade or something. And so I start doing that, and he starts on the worship team. No joke, like, you know how broad Troy is, but he sat behind this guy on a stairwell playing his guitar because he was terrified to be in front of people, even though they just like fought half naked, but whatever.
I know, right?
I don't understand that, but I think the adrenaline helped there.
Right.
And so he started from there, and God grew him from there to, I mean, doing more and more and more until the kid who was leading worship at the time left to go to Duke, and he took over. And so at that point, I had also consumed Sunday morning responsibilities for children.
So you went from Wednesday night to Sunday, and so now you both are working for, or employed for the church, you know, and heading down this ministry road together. So a couple things. So this has been a long journey for you, right? So I think you said earlier, 15 years you were in children's ministry.
Probably about 12, 13, yeah.
Yeah.
Paid, I guess,
For a long time.
Right.
And now are at Life, and you're working with, you know, youth kids now, but still even in the midst of that, you've been in children's ministry, you've been helping out all over the place. So in those 20 years, you know, of working for church, working with kids, being around youth, what are some of the biggest takeaways? What are some of the biggest lessons? What are some of the, again, what are some of the biggest pitfalls? What are some of the greatest rewards? You know, maybe talk through that journey, because I always tell people until you get on staff and work at a church, you don't really know, right? Until you do some of that stuff. And so talk about maybe some of the greatest pitfalls of working together, you know, in ministry, or just in, maybe just in children's and youth ministry in general. And what are some of the greatest gifts, and what have you learned, you know, through that process?
I think a lot of what I learned is just, like you said, like we're still learning about like the things that we need to work on. And so it has grown me a lot as a person and a leader, as far as just like, you got a lot of control issues. You got, so to like grow me from being like, I'm just gonna, this is the goal and I'm gonna go after it, to figure out how to be a team player and a team leader instead of just doing it all ourselves, because that's easy. Like I could say, Troy, I need, and he would do, or when my dad was like, I need, and they would just do because I'm their person, and they would, you know, so they would go after that for me. And to figuring out how to just humble yourself enough to realize that you weren't made for all that. And that there's other people who have really good value and far more than I would in that regard. And so just a lot of growth in me, but then also to see like the kids that have grown up with us, and to see them now thriving or doing some of their own ministries. There's no greater reward than that, other than, you know, in ministry. And so to see them take that on and go with it. So we just ended up at the Pioneer Festival, and there's kids running around. They're not kids anymore. They're like big kids now. And so they're stopping just to give you hugs and tell you about their life, and to see where they're at, and to know that God used you in any of their story, that's a huge blessing. So for me, that was a lot of the reward. I think a lot of the pitfall is that like we just really overcomplicate a lot of it. And so it's hard to look at it different, and to just see that we just make it harder than it needs to be. And so to come and scale back from that, so that our high schoolers here can hopefully have just foundational relationships like we did growing up. Because I know that that is a lot of where those seeds were planted, and it's going home. You know, it's not, it's good. So so my hope is that the kids here just know, they're not kids, I know, but the students here just know that they're loved well wherever they're at, and that we can show them Jesus just by what we do, not preach at them. Like I just want to be in relationship with them, and not, I don't know.
What do you think's the biggest difference over 20 years of doing ministry with kids? What do you think the biggest difference in kids today are?
Ooh, good question.
Anything?
Distraction.
Yeah.
Distraction and no family foundation. So going back to like the grandma, I mean, people, there used to be expectations set for kids because you're sitting around a table and you're taught, your kids are taught, and that isn't, they're probably still taught, but maybe more, I don't know. I think there's a lot more influence in their life and a lot more distractions in their life.
Culture.
And even just, you know, maybe you're here one weekend and there's certain expectations, and you're here one weekend and there isn't. Or, you know, I just think that the demise of the family unit that that we know it as, or have known it as, I think that's hard on kids, because they want instructed. And so they're going to seek that somewhere, and you seek it by what's in your face all the time. And it's not the instructions we probably want for our kids. So I would think that's one of the biggest demise, and just the distraction, because Like I always think back, there was something that was talking about how if I wanted to learn a recipe, I could just go to Google. If my mom wanted to, she would have to call her mom,
Right.
or her grandma
Yeah.
or whatever. And I think
Right.
that generational knowledge and wisdom isn't passed down anymore. And so
Yeah.
Sunday, when you're talking about like, we're only one generation away from people not knowing Jesus, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're just one family member away, or maybe, maybe that's all that holds. So I think the fact that kids don't even know the name of Jesus right now, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
It's sad.
Yeah. And so do you think that, again, is it hard for parents to limit distractions? I mean, because again, distractions, I'm assuming there were distractions when we were kids, right?
What were they?
I don't know.
I know.
Again, I'm just trying to work through this because
Yeah.
one of the things that was brought up when we were talking through this are like, well, kids are way busier today. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I
No.
worked all the time.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, like I always had something going on.
Outside.
I don't remember not being
Playing
busy.
outside. Mhm.
You know,
But it was
so-
purposeful probably when you were a kid. There was probably a purpose behind
Right.
what you were doing.
okay.
And
So the
even-
difference today would be is like
Mindless.
they're busy, but it's something that's what'd you say?
Mindless.
Mindless.
I would think, maybe not all of it, but I mean the vast majority.
Well, maybe not for
is-
younger people because it's not necessarily mindless because for them, they're learning everything.
Yeah. They just consume it different than we
Yeah.
did, and they have availability different than we did. But when we were kids, what we grew up doing was hanging out with your friends and getting in trouble because you weren't home when the street lights came on. And but you were with people you were with your friends all the time. And kids they just don't make that a point anymore. They don't
FaceTime.
know the value of it. Yeah.
Right. So what's today? Wednesday?
What? Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Anyway, so Monday, I got a load of firewood brought to the house, because I got a wood burning fireplace in the house, and I love that kind of stuff.
Wait, what'd you say?
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but it
Well,
smells
again,
so good.
But I grew up that way. So I
Yeah,
grew up
I
cutting
grew up
wood.
with
We
that.
burned wood. Like you can food. You kind of go
Yeah.
like all of these things you did. Like we were a part of that.
Yeah.
We picked the garden. We snap pea or green beans.
Ooh, those are the best.
We
green
did all
beans.
of this stuff growing up. Like that was a part of our busyness. We were responsible
Yeah.
to our family.
You had purpose,
Like
yeah.
there was a job to do. You were going to be a part of it. It didn't matter if you liked it or not.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because that's kind of went away.
Yes.
And people have went to the easier way of doing life. I guess if
Yep.
that's the right. So the guy yesterday, I'm saying, hey, pretty cool because this guy does it for a living. It's all he does is deliver firewood, cuts and delivers firewood, has 6 kids, supports his whole family. All
Wow.
I said, well, has a lot changed since, the last 2 years? And he says, oh yeah. He's like, right now I have 250 clients. And he says, what you're seeing is everybody reverting back to this idea that the simpler, although harder,
Yeah.
lifestyle is one that's more attractive to what we succumb
Right.
to, which is the busyness rat race, running all the time, trying to get everything done, and reverting back to, I don't have any time to cut wood. I don't have any time to can food. I don't have any time. And they're like, I'm done with all of this,
Yeah.
And so how much of a part, would be my question to you, Keely, how much of a part do we as parents have to help get our kids less distracted and allow them to have a simpler life? Do we have any part of them living a distract? Like, do we just let it happen? Because, as parents, sometimes I wonder if it's easier just to have your kids distracted because otherwise
Yeah.
you got to do all this stuff with them.
Yeah.
Do you
but I think
think?
there's a huge responsibility to help them through that because they don't know any different. Like that's all they see.
Right.
That's all that's all their parents are often doing.
Yeah.
So like the examples they have, what's normal, everywhere else in school or whatnot, that's it. Troy will tell you that I think I had like not a midlife crisis. I hope it wasn't midlife, but we camped with our boys growing up because it stripped you away from all the busyness.
Yeah.
And so we moved out to our house that we're at now. And I'm like, oh, it's right by the river and there's trees and there's trails. We don't have to camp. Like it's all in our backyard. And then we didn't do it because there wasn't a way to like kind of get away. And so I said, we need another camper, which, is the trickle of now you need another truck and all the things. and I don't
All the
like
stuff that
jet.
goes
So he
with
was
it.
probably like, but he bought me a camper and we took the boys back camping again because without stepping away from it, it is easier. It is easier to allow that distraction and to just allow busyness and whatnot. And so I tell everyone, and not everyone, because some people yell at me, but 2020 was my favorite year with my family.
Yeah.
everything got stripped away and all you had to do was hang out with your people and learn things. I'm like, give me one of those every single year. I would take a quarantine every year.
Too.
Yeah.
Yep. We wrote a book about the things we learned and we built fireplaces. I mean, we did everything that we could.
So weigh in on this, Jenny, Nick, Keely, weigh in on this. So last night we're driving home and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, whatever, right? Because I raised 8 kids and we were busy all the time. Our kids were in sports all the time. And Sarah was like, that's it. We're only going to let the kids be in one sport. They're not going to get to do multiple sports.
Wow.
We're going to make it so that we're home eating. We're going to do all of this. Again, right? Talking through this whole, and I'm like, I'm all in. Man. I mean, I'm all for that. But again, how, as parents, do we have that responsibility to say, we're limiting these stuff, although our kids want to do whatever they want?
Yes.
Because kids automatically are going to go berserker.
Yes.
Right? Like if we say, nope, you're only going to do this, and we're going to be home every night, like we're going to go back to this simpler lifestyle. Well, is that so much of a shift for most families that they'll never get there?
I think if it didn't start there, it would be hard to get there maybe.
Okay. So listen.
Nick's turned around because Nick's living it right now.
I just think that we've gotten away from completely even parenting our kids. I think that the kids parent us. Well, not us because I'm not a parent, but I'm saying this because there are children that are now allowed to make decisions on if they are a boy or a girl legally. They are allowed to do all of these things, and it makes me so mad that.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Have you heard of things called fuzzies?
I knew that was what you were going to say. I
I've never heard of this before, but they said we're at Sarah's.
Are they fuzzies? Are they furries?
Furries, maybe that's what it's called.
Oh, yes, I've heard of furries.
Honestly, but they seriously, at Manchester, right? So they're telling me that like these people walk around with cat ears.
Yes.
And they,
yes.
And I'm like,
on a leash.
And you have to acknowledge them, and you can't.
So somebody doesn't punch him in the face? Because that's what would happen.
I know.
It's like, if there was a furry or a fuzzy walking around Adams Central, somebody would have decked him. I mean, nobody's going around on a leash. Somebody to get their head knocked off.
They probably
do.
Yes. No, I know, but exactly like that. You can be whatever you want to be. And the teachers, like when they go to school, they have to call you by what you say, no matter if you're in first grade, kindergarten. If I say I'm a boy, you have to call me a boy.
And you have to illegally name, and you have to
illegally. Like, and there's a lot of places that are, if you call somebody by the wrong pronoun, then that is not harassment, but it's something.
Sure.
So we're giving a lot of control over. Is what you're saying?
Giving all of the control over. Kids shouldn't be able to choose if they're a boy or girl. Oh my gosh, like they think Santa Claus is real, you know what I mean?
You just ruined it.
I'm sorry.
Can you edit that?
All the young people to the podcast.
I meant the one at the mall. The mall one. Him.
Jenny just broke
He's
it
not
to
real.
him. But Nick's living this life today.
Yes.
Right? So Nick, you have very athletic kids. I think, again, this is terrible, but I think they're involved in a lot of stuff. Not a lot of stuff. How did you work through the decisions? How did you work through limiting kids, not limiting kids? How do you see it playing out? Because I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to work through this because I was like, I love the idea of being home and sitting around a table and not having to go to everything. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think the hardest part was like, you've always told your kids like, hey, you can be whatever you want. And so how do you say you can be whatever you want without
exploring it
or
within
letting
limits.
them do whatever they want?
Good point.
Wow.
And then you look at, sports wise, athletic wise, Isaac with baseball, like if he really wanted to play high school when he was like 8 or 9, we got to travel.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have a choice. Like,
right.
I mean, he was just tall and athletic to play basketball without doing travel with that. But,
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, where's that line of like, hey, I would have loved to be home every night. I would have loved to sit around the table, and I regret not doing that. A lot of that, Emma's in college now, and so we never see her, and then there's like a little bit of regret there. But like, where's that line?
Well, and I think that's an interesting view without getting into anybody's like personal life, but how much effect allowing, because I'm not saying it's wrong, Nick, because I mean, we did the same thing. Like if our kids wanted to play sports, we let them play sports. And again, we had 8 of them. So everybody was driving everybody everywhere. And for a long time, you never sat around the table, which was the only thing I told Sherry. The one thing that I value the most in life is at one point, even if we have bologna sandwiches, I want to sit around the table. Like I want to see my kids. I want to talk around. You don't have to make a meal.
Yeah.
If we all just got bologna, that's
I love bologna.
perfectly fine. I love bologna too.
It's so good.
But how much of an effect do you think that's having on the family unit with kids doing, not your kids in general, but just kids in general, by allowing them to be whatever they want to be?
See, that's the part that I don't know. Because, like, even though that we never sat around the table, I talk to Emma every day.
Yeah.
Like,
So it was still good for you.
Yeah, she has.
So you could make it work.
We got lucky.
Yeah.
You have a really good relationship with Emma.
Yeah, she's snapping me right now.
But that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like I'm somewhere like.
I don't think anything fits. I don't think any one thing fits all families, but I think that they're a techie family. So like that works for their world. Like it's just the intentionality behind it. Like, are you intentional in your time on your way there or your way home? Are you, it's just putting purpose behind what you're doing instead of just, this is what everyone else is doing, so that's what we're going to do.
Right.
But yeah, there are definitely people raising themselves and raising other people that shouldn't be. And there's just.
And they're supported, like Jenny's saying, right? So they're supported inside of the school system.
Right.
To be okay with demanding their own way.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything is, all the world is that way. Do you know what I mean? Don't you think like, it's
Like doctors' offices are like that now too.
It's a
The
full
what?
world
Doctors'
of consumerism.
offices.
You can rate your doctor before, like you can go on and see where your doctor rates before you even choose them as your doctor.
Right.
So like if you're not an A+, I mean, everything's consumerism like that. So if we're not intentional to diffuse some of that, then.
So is there a way?
Yeah.
Is there a way? We're talking about generation. We're one generation from having it all screwed up. Is there anything that what can we be proactive in then? Because we've identified problems, right? There's problems in every generation and everything to do. What as parents or as people, what can we be proactive at? What are the things that we can work through to not lose a generation of people? I mean, do you have thoughts on like some of those things?
Well, I think that you can't expect them to take away like the things that they are, like social media, the internet, the tech stuff, because they've grown up with that. We're never getting rid of that.
Okay.
So I think we should go into that and do as much as possible so it's being reached out there. So we're replacing the negative stuff.
So we need to Snapchat our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Do you Snapchat your kids?
Nope, because that's not my world. It's not what I know. And I'm like, it's going to take far more effort for me to do that and learn that than to say, get over here. I want to talk to you.
Where Nick's a natural.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
amazing.
Nick's a
Yeah, because that
natural
works for his
Snapchatter.
family.
Like
yeah.
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
He's great at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just think you just have to get back to intentional relationships. I just think that without them, they don't know. I always like, the thing that says, what is the IYK? What
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
I got you.
I was sure this says you don't know what you
That's
don't know.
something
I got
put on-
you.
I knew I wasn't going to ask you, but Jenny will know.
If you know, you know.
I want one that says you don't know what you don't know, because I just think.
Dude, start it.
Right? We need to make a shirt like that, Nick. So I just think that
You
people in all regards, like you don't know the week that you just had because you came in here with a smile on your face. And until you dig in to say how was your week and get to know them and have those genuine relationships, it's just surface. And then there is no intention and people float through life with whatever, like no expectation because no one said it for them.
Right.
And they don't know they're missing it because no one ever gave them one. It's just like a whole circle.
Exactly like that. Like I think social media is a reel of the happy moments. So they're being taught that
everything is good and everything is a highlight.
That's why maybe it's hard for them to have personal relationships because they're not used to being vulnerable.
And to cope with anything because you don't see any of that resolve on there. You only see the good and
Well, it's funny you say that because that's what actually triggered the conversation last night about boys.
Really?
So Kate on her phone has a picture of a boy on the back of it, a TikTok boy.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what the?
What? Wait, on the back of her phone?
So she
Like
printed
taped?
off a picture.
Oh my gosh.
So I wonder if I'm going to get in trouble for saying any of this stuff. I don't know, but on the back of it.
And you told her to watch the
and those
stuff.
two girls were like, oh yeah, TikTok boys are awesome. And I'm like, what the heck is a TikTok boy?
I wish I could have been a fly in that car.
They're like, the boys on TikTok, they are so good. And I'm like, really?
They're
like,
so
how
good?
do you know? Well, I mean, obviously,
What they show of them.
what they show of themselves is really good. And that's what started this whole conversation of, it's only what they show of themselves.
Was steam like coming out your ears or?
Oh my gosh.
It's like, what is a TikTok boy? And then that whole persona, just what you said. You only see what you see. You only know what you know.
Yep.
So all this is what they see and know. Yeah. And then they carry all that over that expectation into real life people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's not even real. Like those things aren't even real. They spend forever trying to put together a TikTok and then get it the way they want it to be and present it. But then you go back to real life and you're like, it doesn't even make any sense.
Right.
So that's when I said, okay, you want real advice on real men, right? Like that you're going to interact with at your school. Like this.
Do you think they listened? Do you think they heard you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sarah said
interesting to see
Sarah
later.
said they did. Like, I don't know. But the point was just I thought that was interesting that you would like go on TikTok and have some sort of like, oh, wow, look at this.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I mean, it's looking at other people like their life is awesome too, but then it's applying it back to yourself. I think that's one of the most unhealthy things for this generation too, is because they're seeing all this and then they're looking at their own life and
doesn't measure up.
Yeah,
It's
because it's never going to measure up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't see the other
No,
side.
you don't see the other side.
Yeah, so before we get into we got about 15 minutes left. So
we do
before
have good questions.
Yeah, so before we get into questions, and you can elaborate this as much as you want or don't. So you went through, I think, a couple challenging pieces, because this is the other piece, like bubbly, Keely, everything's always good and awesome. But you went through a few challenges. You lost your dad. You moved out of ministry, for a little bit of a while. So how did you navigate challenges and what effect did they have on your life?
So right before we lost my dad, 6 months earlier, we had lost my director at work, and she was that person who set expectations for you, and she expected certain things, but she walked the walk too. And she was my first real job. Like, she was my first real, we had Cameron, and she came to my house to like our year review. I mean, like, she just loved you well. Like, she loved you very well. And so she passed unexpectedly. And then 6 months later to the day, my dad was gone. And so we did that. And then there was new leadership at both of my jobs within the next couple of months. And then there was just a lot that happened in a really short amount of time. And it was probably the first time in life that I understood prayer. Like, I could pray for, I can do Thanksgiving, I can do intercessory, I can do all the things, but like to pray for myself, that just seems selfish to me. I understand it isn't, but it's how it felt.
Yeah.
And so it was the first time that I truly just, like, it's yours.
Right.
I wasn't going to cry. I'm a crier, sorry.
Let it out, girl.
So I was like, that was the first time I thought I prayed for cruise control. And so the joke now is that at the same time I'm praying for cruise control, God shut down the world. And that's how tight Jesus and I are. So,
jeez, it's all your fault.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good or bad, right? For us, it was good. And we needed that space to settle a little bit and then come back into it. But I don't think any of it, if I'm walking with the Lord well, that it should change who I am or who he made me to be.
Right.
And if it does, then I'm not really fighting the fight I was made to fight. So,
but you feel like it made you closer.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like, I've heard you talk about, like, part of that pushing into him at those times were like, drew you into a deeper faith than what you had.
100%.
Right. Yeah. So the way you navigated the challenge was to push in.
Yeah.
Right. And try to understand more, in that.
And he showed up time and time again. Like, I think some people who are harder headed, so probably like everyone in this room will understand this, like, the harder or sterner of a person you are, like stubborn, driven, whatever people call you, sometimes he puts really big roadblocks in your way because you can't see the little ones.
Right.
So he would show up all the time in really big ways. Like, we lost my dad, and we had to go to this half day of prayer because we were on staff, and I was like kicking and screaming about the whole thing because I thought, who can pray for a whole half of a day?
Right.
And go through, and it was amazing. And the last thing that I had wrote, you had to write down prayers for yourself, which again was always hard for me. And so after I lost my dad and I came back, the first lesson that I was getting ready to teach our kids was on my prayer that he had answered to get my dad back into church and or to get him in church at all and to get him serving and to get him to know who he was. And so, like, he always shows up in really big ways to like validate, like, I've got you.
Right.
Sit back. I've got you.
Right.
You don't need to control everything. And so I'm not good at always learning that or knowing that I know it. I'm not always good in living that, but yeah, it's he's taught a lot of humility, and I needed it. So, but yeah. So it has been challenges, but he's ever faithful.
But it's grew you deeper, right? So what you walked away with is a deeper understanding and a deeper faith. And I think that's what we can all learn from is this, that challenges are always going to be there and roadblocks are always going to be there and unknown circumstances and things that we don't understand, but you chose to push into it. Now your faith is deeper and you're helping pass that on to other people.
We always talk about he'll use your biggest hurt for his greatest ministry. Like whatever he walks you through, we always, in our family, we always feel like those are the times that you should be growing, and that in that growth that he'll use you later in life, like just like you're going to do today.
Message.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So,
all right, Jenny, questions.
Question time. Question time.
So everybody can take a break now.
Go.
Take Jenny about 10 minutes to find all of the questions that she had on here.
I know. I'm blaming it on the Texan church.
So Mike, be kind.
Exactly.
See, the thing is, Jenny knows I love her.
Yes, exactly.
Every time that I say these things, she knows I love her. I just think it's funny.
I thought it happens every single time.
I love your uniqueness.
We need to
the greatest thing about you.
All right, question number 1 from Thaddeus Little. He wants to know, what is your favorite Bible verse or one of your favorites?
Yeah, be still and know that I am God. And it just...
That makes sense for you.
It filters through all of it. Just
to
step back and humble myself and let him lead.
All right, Karen Bennett wants to know, what was your most impactful thing that happened to you in high school that directed you toward what you are doing now in youth?
I think the most impactful thing was just probably the people who came alongside of us to allow us to learn and grow and try our giftings. I know the fly. I'm so glad it's on
She's laughing because the fly's going in my ear. I'm like flicking it out over here.
We're laughing because there's a fly attacking Mike right now.
I forget you have to explain it. Yeah,
I saw it out of the side of my eye.
Touch me.
I saw you do it once, and then the second time I couldn't contain it.
No, I'm sorry. The thing was going in my ear. So the bus ministry and the investment, right, was something that was huge, in moving forward.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
I know. All right, Tim Giannis. I hate when I say his last name. Keely's positivity in her faith is contagious. Does Keely have a favorite verse or Bible story to recommend to us that she goes to in order to stay as awesome as she is? Keely is the real deal.
Yay, Keely, so nice. The real deal.
The real deal.
I don't think that I would say I have a favorite Bible story or a Bible verse, but I will say that he meets me often when I dig in because, like with what I need in that season. So, I just think that his faithfulness as far as meeting me where I need to be met, humbling me where I need to be humbled, with different things in those seasons that God's always been faithful in that. So. Thanks, Tim.
Awesome.
We love you.
I know. That was sweet, Tim. All right. Next question.
See, Tim would be the other guy that you never see stop smiling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
We always say this.
Seems like he's like,
yep.
I know.
Strumming with a smile on.
We always talk about how God put Tim in Troy's life in the perfect time.
Yeah.
He's the opposite of Troy in a lot of ways. And so for Troy's dad to have just passed and him still have Tim, it's just, God's so good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Zach Krieger, what did God say to you even... Dang it.
We'll blame it on Zach.
What did God say to you to even consider taking on the position?
So we were mowing one day and it's like had been this gentle nudge of like, you should probably help. You should probably do what I made you to do. And I thought, I don't have time. And I don't know about this. And so I think that he just lined certain things up to happen. I love all the middle schoolers here, but like middle schoolers. So like when Sarah came on to help with that, that was a piece that I thought I'm not strong in. That's not something I would be effective in as much. And then the fact that it's always spoke of that on staff or anything at Life Church is follow the leading of the Lord and we're behind you.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And that's not always that's not always the case in this position. And so that was very encouraging because I think that, again, if I am sticking with that relationship and that's strong and I'm following that there's not really anything that can stop us. And so I'm a firm believer that kids can completely change their family life, their dynamic, and the world. Like, I think that they're far closer to God in a lot of ways than we are. And I think if they're empowered and educated enough that they're the ones you can send easier and they'll reach others easier because they don't have all the extra
Other stuff.
that we do. So when we talk about reach, teach, and send, they're the people we should be working really hard at because, just raise them well. Yeah. So
Good question. A good answer. All right. Your mother would like to know, of all of the jobs that she has right now, PTA, chocolatier, Scentsy, distributor,
you got the hybrid.
right, HS leader, singer in Troy's band, which is your favorite and why?
Mom.
Yeah.
I know. Jeez.
Oh, thank you. They all are probably my favorite.
Good answer.
And I know all the above.
Yes. No. We try to use all of them as a mission field. No. So, like, regardless of how I'm serving the world that day, the catalyst, I just want it to be, we're just bringing you Jesus in a different format, whether it's yummy chocolate or we're helping you get better. So thank you.
All right. Adam Shoemaker says, yes, I've got one. Keely is my favorite thing about, Keely, my favorite.
Keely is my favorite thing.
When I was reading that, I'm like, Adam, that is really creepy. There goes my pen. All right, let's try this again. Keely, my favorite thing about you is your selflessness and your ability to love others unconditionally. My question is, what are some ways to show unfamiliar people the love of Jesus like you do?
This is not going to be something everyone likes, but I'm a hugger.
Ooh, I like hugs.
I thought in 2020 I was going to make a shirt that said I'm a hugger. So because I just think that the world needs more hugs, I guess. I don't know. So like baptism.
It breaks a barrier.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
It breaks a barrier.
So baptism Sunday, it was a hard week for us to begin with. And somebody said, you can stand behind the curtain and do something. I'm like, I need that job. But you got to hug everybody who got baptized. I'm like, oh, I was made for this.
That's right. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I was so excited. So yeah. What is the question?
No, how do you love unfamiliar people?
Yeah, and that's it.
So yeah, I do. But also like, my favorite part of our therapy job is that you get to meet new people on Rapid, right? Like I get it and just hear their stories and where they're at. And so like my goal every day is to shine a little Jesus in their life. I'm like, however, I don't know. Sometimes I probably say things I shouldn't, but they might get me fired. I don't know. But
you're still there.
I know. It's 18 years. It's fine.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want now. Okay, your husband.
What?
Yeah, I didn't read this one to you yet.
Okay.
And I haven't read it yet either, so we'll experience this together. Yes. Comment. Keely is awesome to see how God has moved in your life over the years. It's awesome. You are a loyal and faithful servant who is never afraid to tell others about Jesus. I hope your beautiful smile never leaves your face. The boys are so proud of you, and we love you so much.
You could probably stop.
Okay, well, that's it. Okay. So,
No questions. Just keep it there.
No questions? Don't answer
I'm just
them?
kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
When did you first feel that God called you to invest in kids/youth ministry?
The mystery of youth. It's okay.
They are ministry.
Ministry or
They
ministry.
are.
Yeah.
And was it difficult to honor that call?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember a time that we really didn't have that as part of my life. Right. So at some point, like I said, at our church growing up, they just let you.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah, and so you just served all the time.
And so that's not foreign to me. And it's only difficult when I try to get outside of what I was made to do. Yeah. And then burnout happens real fast for me. So if I just stay in my lane and what I'm supposed to be doing, which is hard for me because you want to do all the things. Right. So if I can stay there, it's not difficult for me. I feel like people, if they can find their spot.
Find your sweet spot.
Yeah. Find what God made you to do. It just doesn't feel like work. So, yeah. But he's probably thinking of all the difficulty things that I asked him to do when we were in ministry. Like, girl, you struggled. And I'm sure that is when I was just trying to do more than I should probably be doing. So.
Okay, he has another question. One more question. How does it feel to be married to the lead singer of the Troy Oswald band? How does it feel? Wow. Do you cry yourself to sleep at night?
It is an honor to be married to that man. It is a huge honor to be married to him. It is, it's amazing to lead our family together. And it's amazing to see how God has worked in his life and mine. And we're beyond blessed. So it is an honor. I love him.
Okay, Lisa Lice wants to know, how does she keep that genuine love for happiness that comes through her? She's a true gem.
People are so sweet.
That's because you're sweet.
Yeah, look at you.
That's you're sweet.
Yeah, everybody's looking at you.
That's so nice. We joke that I don't worry about things like how everyone else is worriers, and I just wasn't built that way. So I just don't worry, which is weird for most people, but that's not how I was built. And so like my lens is always like rainbow and sunshine. If it's not, we're in big trouble because the world is broken at that point. But that's just how God, I'm pretty sure that's just how it was made.
Yeah, you chose a
amazing.
perspective. You chose a perspective to look at
Perspective is
things
my word
through
of the
this.
year. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because it's easy to get negative. So we try to stay in the world of gratitude. Yeah.
Better that way.
Yeah.
Dee Wigner. I don't like pronouncing her last name either. She wants to know, what are the future vision and goals for high school students and life students?
Yeah, so I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but right now I'm working really hard to just find leaders who just have a genuine love for kids and just want to figure out who are those kids and where can we help grow them in the Lord within the confines of who they already are, like who God already made you to be. What are your giftings that are already there and how can we help nourish those? Because if they understand that, the rest is easy. Like they can do anything. And I think, like I said earlier, they can literally be people who change the world.
Yeah.
Easier than old people. Not old. And I'm old, so I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I think there's less stuff, less cynicism, less other stuff. And so I think that is easier. So the hope and the goal is that I can pair good leaders with the students in like-minded things. So again, if we wanted to have a hiking group, they can we're hiking today, let's just be in relationship and we're going to teach you Jesus and example Jesus while we're doing that. So that is my hope.
Like mentors?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. Small groups within that and then them building relationships among each other.
That's cool.
In a larger group setting so that they know that there are people, like Eli going into high school had done soccer all summer with those kids and seniors built into him. And so going into school was far less intimidating, because there was a crew wherever you are, there's somebody. And so people need that community. So I want them connected to one another, but also to leaders because there's so much value in so many people on a Sunday morning that could help develop those kids. They just don't know how to do it, or maybe they're waiting for permission. I don't know. But like, man, there's so much value that people can teach our kids that shouldn't just be a leader at a church. There's not enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough. So that's my hope, is that we can figure out like, what are the strengths of our people here and how can they build into the lives of our kids to help grow them? So it's maybe a lofty vision, but we're going to work on it.
That's a great
No, it's
vision.
exciting.
I love that vision.
It's exciting because, again, it allows it to evolve.
Yeah.
Because it evolves as if the needs of the kids and the understanding of the kids and the calling of God. So that's the greatest thing.
And it's the expectation that we should all be doing that for each other. So not just our kids. So yeah.
Good. So Jenny, send us out with a number.
Yep.
What number can people be texting us at?
260-408-8383.
That's seriously impressive.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't. I know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
the number that I just said is the number that we just got a bunch of questions from. So each week we send out a message that informs who's going to be our guest.
And a picture.
And a picture, yes, I've been doing that now. So you connect the name with the face. But then that gives you an opportunity to be on our show by asking questions and engaging with the guest on there. And yeah, we love the questions. Today was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah. So text the number and get on our podcast text number. And we want to either like you respond to that, or if you want to be a guest, if you know a guest, if you have a wild idea. If you have a dare, oh my gosh, I've been really itching to do a dare. Remember that? That was fun.
Yes.
So if you want to dare me, I will do it.
Yeah, we'll go retro back to the old school days of,
and we're not limited to this area. We can go anywhere.
Yeah, right. Well, Keely, again, it's been great to have you
Thanks
on.
for having me.
Looking forward to see what God's going to do in the future. And I think that's the best thing. We don't really know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to watch God work through you and the kids here at church and just what you guys are doing together. And so excited to see God move. Thanks for coming on today. Thanks for sharing your story.
Yes.
And again, thanks everybody for joining us. Don't forget, share, like, post, comment, help us get this podcast out to many people. So again, they can continue to get to know our guests and what God's doing and continue to see that God's still on the move, doing amazing things, and we're trusting him for a great future. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.